Hey, true believers. Chris Mack coming at you with G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, #1. And I gotta say, for a comic book that was supposed to just be a ploy to promote a toy line, this is a damn good book. I will say this, after reading the Transformers comics, after reading this, and then kind of seeing pages from the original He-Man comics that used to come with the original figures back in the day, again, even though they were to promote toy lines, at least the people who wrote these cared about what they were doing. What I mean by that is I'll look at a lot of comics that are geared more towards the younger audience to promote toys or whatever, and it hurts your brain to read them because it has a lot of that cutesy LOL, so random, snarky humor. As were this. I think what made it really good from the fact, let's put a pin in that and let's talk about who made it, and then I'll explain. It'll make a little more sense. So the scripter is Larry Hama, penciler was Herb Trim, the inker was Bob McLeod, letterer Jim Novak, colorist Glynis Wine, editor Tom DeFalco, and editor-in-chief is Jim Shooter. Print date was June 1982. Now, the reason I wanted to say that is because I believe Larry Hama was a Vietnam vet. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's what they said he was a vet of. So when you read this, you can see where his military background came from and why this, even though, G.I. Joe versus Cobra, at least there was some verisimilitude to this story. And he did not need to get, him and the team did not need to get as in-depth. Like, for example, heavy artillery laser and a codename Hal, and it just goes through, and it's almost like schematics. We have the G.I. Joes. I'm Flash, and I'd like to tell you all about my little pea shooter. They didn't have to make it this good, but they cared. They knew that they were promoting a toy line. And if you guys watch the Toys Who Made Us episode about G.I. Joe, Hama says that in this time period, if you were put on a comic that was just going to promote toys, everyone called you a loser. But he didn't care. He wanted to make something good, and he did. And one thing is, even though the cover of my book disappointingly looks banged up, I'm just thankful that the colors are still vibrant. I mean, look at this. American flag waving, G.I. Joe's overpowering Cobra. Does that not scream what do you call that? Not enough coffee today. Screaming of being a patriot. There it is. I couldn't think of it. So this is called Lady Doomsday. And right here in these two dialogue boxes, they explain what G.I. Joe is. And then immediately we jump into the story. We find out that they're on this plane. Yeah, this is an airplane, guys. A train. And they're protecting this lady named Adele Burkhart. She was a nuclear physicist that got essentially duped into working on a doomsday project. And so she became a whistleblower saying, I'm not going to work on something that's going to take people's lives. So she's wanting to crack this open to the media. And so she's actually trying to do a press conference on the plane, and she has the military men watching her because there's going to be a lot of people out there that are going to want to shut her up. Now, what I found interesting is as she's talking, well, first off, let's kind of just show the depth that Hama puts into the dialogue. The Doomsday Project has a single goal: the development of a retaliatory weapons system capable of annihilating all life on this planet. It's unthinkable that a person of a conscience could, and then she's cut off. Keep in mind, this is a comic book that's supposed to promote toys. He did not need to try this hard to put this much emotional depth. He could have just done like SpongeBob and ha 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 ha, boogers and farts and na 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 na. No, Hama cared. And I know a lot of people are gonna be like boomer, but I think that's why a lot of generations that grew up on this stuff were a little more creative, because the stuff that we read, books, comics, TVs, there was more substance and thought to it, as we're now, it's starting to become very few and far between. Now, again, in terms of imagination, so you see these people, this press conference people, and then Cobra attacks, and the camera turns into a gun. And that's just such a cool idea. Being able to turn something like that. That's why, Transformers start taking off like gangbusters, being able to turn things into other things. And again, same with G.I. Joe, the types of weapons, the vehicles. That's why the toys were cool. And again, that's why the comic and both the cartoon were awesome. That's why, I'm not saying this to try to ruffle any feathers, but they just, they made the new Snake Eyes movie, and I was reading a lot of the comments that from movie social media sites saying it's the best G.I. Joe movie ever, and then everybody in the comments is saying, what about the original 80s movie? There you go. That's why this stuff holds up, because there was thought and care behind it, and not just... There was a cash grab from Hasbro because they wanted to sell toys. But Hama and his team, they were assigned a book from Shooter, I'm assuming. And they wanted to make it good, and they wanted it to sell. Yes, they wanted to make money, but they wanted to put out a good product. And by God, did they. So just boom, stakes, Baroness grabs this lady. And she goes, all right, I've got your precious Dr. Burkhart. Now back off, or I'll turn her face into a fine red mist. Whew. And then what's really cool is they do one of those, I can't remember what it's called, but the extraction where they hook up with a plane, and in this case it's not an airplane, so push them off, shoots the air canisters, uses the balloon to escape to a helicopter, which I wish Hama would have finished the paneling to see what happens after they let go of an extraction like this. Like, see how close this balloon is to the rotors. I'm just thinking, damn, is there only like an amount of gas? Like, I'm sitting here thinking the mechanics instead of trying to have that suspension of belief, and so I had to just shut myself up. But still, cool panel how Baroness just throws this chick out. The balloon goes, and then there's like, we're going to be going in 10 minutes. And then we get into the top brass, and these guys are not happy with Burkhart, the doctor, because, she called the whistle blowing on these guys, and they're saying, if we don't, well, real quick, it says right here, they see what Baroness wrote on the window of the bathroom in the train. It says, try to rescue her, and she dies. And so this is a General something or other, and then this is Flag. I almost called him Hawk. That's not Hawk. And so they're saying that the information that she has in her head that would fall in the Cobra's hands, that's going to be a terrible, terrible situation. And then listen to this, the military is always talking about acceptable losses. Flag goes, their threat doesn't make any sense, sir. We'd almost be better off, national security-wise, if we attempt to rescue, bungle it, and Cobra terminates her. And then General, whatever his name is, he's like, don't believe it, General Flag. We're in a double bind. We can't let Cobra keep her long enough to use her, and we can't let her die because the whole world knows that we consider her an embarrassment. Our only possible course of action is a successful rescue. And then this is where we're introduced to the elite fighting squad that will fight against Cobra. And so we get a roll call on the very 80s computer monitors. And so we get to see who the original lineup of the team is. And, Hawk is the leader. And I love how, even though Hawk is the leader of the group, we see him on the monitor, we see his name up close before we finally see him in his full military attire. And he was just my luck to catch a driver with a lead foot. Slow down, Clutch. This isn't Albury Park, and we're not on Thunder Road. With all due respect to your rank, Colonel Abernathy, sir, I've got orders from General Flag to deliver your Class A colonelship to G.I. Joe Command Center ASAP. Young General Flag hasn't worn out his first set of khakis yet. The orders were countersigned by General Austin. Old Iron Butt Austin, step on it, Clutch, or we'll both be facing a court-martial. So even though they have to be professional in terms of ranks because they're on base, they have a mission, they've worked together. You can see just within their back and forth that they trust each other, they work together, so very cool stuff. And then we see them pull into a bunker, and then they go down, and boom, we see they have their underground base. And just that long wide shot of seeing everybody training and whatnot, Just a very cool panel. And then we get into the team talking about what each teammate is going to do. And now, even though this is 1982, this is supposed to be a 3D imagery of Cobra Island. And it's just sort of like, really? 1980s? Whatever, but it's supposed to be cool in that regard. And what I like is how, I can't remember which one it says, but what's our job? And Hawk says, we're soldiers. Our job is to follow orders, to do the impossible, and make it look easy. Now, one thing I do want to point out, I like the way that this leads into the story, but what I like is the sense of patriotism. So everyone, these people are GIs. They work for the government, and they understand what the Dr. Abernathy, I think her name is, not Abernathy, Burkhart. Names start to blend together. They're just like, why don't we just let Cobra take her out? It seems like it would just solve a lot of problems. And right here, I like this. He goes, we each took an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States. That Constitution guarantees the right of every citizen to disagree with the government. Whew! That's good stuff right there. I really like that. I'm not going to go too far into it. Take that for what you will, but I just really enjoyed that. So here we finally, for the first time, meet Cobra Commander. And just the paneling, how she's stuck in this chair, you see the type of threat that this man is. And of course, the old school logo of him talking about how they're able to counteract what the G.I. Joes are going to do. And what's this guy's name? Oh, I had it before I hit record. Now it's completely out. It starts with a C. But anyway, they're coming in on a boat, and the guy looks like, what does he say? You see anything through that image intensifier, Grunt? Yeah, I see another pair of intensifiers staring straight back at me. Looks like Cobra's having a heavy hardware party on the beach, and we're just the guests. And so they grab this jet propulsion pack, and they're firing some sort of missile. And then all the action happens. We see jetpacks, explosions, G.I. Joes coming off the beach, their laser rifles going. And I like how he's like, don't leave me, you'll miss my grand finale. I whistle stars and stripes forever while using this laser blaster to strafe the beach in time to the kettle drum parts. Just amazing artwork. Again, they did not need to try this hard. Look at this. This is like something that you'd expect like an X-Men or Captain America or Spider-Man. But a first issue of G.I. Joe, all-star team working on this book, guys. And it shows, and hence why it sold. And he uses a lot of military tactics. So they're talking about what happens. Opposition should be minimal. The air division or diversion will bleed troops to the other end of the island. And if the diversion fails, our men are on their own all the way. And so we see all the dossiers of the G.I. Joes, their code names, their real names, their top secret on the books. So if things go south, they are screwed. Because they'll just do that disavowness. So the rest of the book, it's back and forth in terms of action. G.I. Joe gains it, think that they're advancing, and then Cobra Commander, you find out how he's able to almost be on the same wavelength and how to counter and how it makes him such a threat and why he made such a good villain and why the Baroness is so, such a femme fatale and whatnot. And this drives me nuts. I hated this. I didn't realize this until I pulled the book out, but I hate when the staples come out. So decreases the value, but whatever. Still a good book. And then towards the end of the book, we finally get to see Cobra Commander for the first time with his silver mask. And it's Snake Eyes and Scarlet against him. They get cut off from the rest of the team. I'm kind of just generalizing this because I want you guys to read it in its entirety. It's a really good book. And then when you think it's over, look at this. They show the pit, the G.I. Joe Command Center, and they show you in depth what each level does, how it works independently and together. Again, they didn't have to do this, but they did. And it just shows how much they cared about what they were doing. And then we get a second story where, again, Scarlet, Snake Eyes, and Rock and Roll are trying to get to the extraction point. Hawk and a couple of the other team members, which I can't remember off the top of my head, and they're saying, we stay put. We're not going to leave anyone behind. Scarlet is the senior member of the team. The responsibility for the tape is all on her shoulders. That tape is like a hot potato. And again, Larry Hama, writer, Don Perun, penciler, Jack Abel, inker, Rick Parker, letterist, Glynis Wine, colorist, and Tom DeFalco, editor. Again, look at the gorgeousness and the severity of the situation. Scarlet's injured. These guys are stuck behind enemy lines of these, I don't remember where they are, but they're Middle East. It just says somewhere in the Middle East. So somewhere in the Middle East. And there's, of course, there's going to be troops coming. Scarlet saying, I'm the lame duck. You two get the tape back to the extraction point. And so she's telling Rock and Roll to go. And she goes, Snake Eyes is going to be right behind you to make sure you don't turn back. And so she's going to try to make time for the team. And you see Snake Eyes chasing Rock and Roll. And what's interesting is he goes, funny, I used to think you got some feelings for Scarlet. I must have been wrong. Listen, you can take the tape back and let me go back for her. Please, Snake Eyes, I've never asked for anything from you before. Let me. And that's what I love about Snake Eyes. Sneaky little dude. And so you see Snake Eyes actually came back for Scarlet. And she goes, you crazy fool, get over here and give me some cover. And you actually see tears in her eyes. She goes, I think I've got sand in my eye. And then you just see how much this team cares for one another. The guy's waiting for them to return to the extraction point. They're like, get down, it's a grenade. And they, no, it's not a grenade, it's the tape. And you see that Rock and Roll goes back for Scarlet and Snake Eyes. And you just see the exhaustion on Scarlet's face, how their ammo is running thin. And what's going to happen? Again, read the book. And then when you think you're done, they do these cool pinups of each G.I. Joe, showing kind of their different personalities, their names, their ranks, their strengths. And a little bit of funniness where the guy's stuck peeling potatoes and he's like, some things in this man's army never change. Again, guys, this book did not need. And then look, you flip on the back and you get another talk about their different types of ordnance, that they use. This book did not need to be this good, but it is phenomenal. I absolutely had a great time reading it. And if you guys have enjoyed it, I highly recommend, please first and foremost support your local comic shop and see if you can find a copy. It's getting harder and harder to find. If you've enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate it if you take a moment to hit like, share, and subscribe. Helps the club channel more than you could possibly know. And if you don't mind hitting that Yo Joe bell next to subscribe, that way as we continue to upload content, you guys will get notified. Come to the channel, and we love talking with you all and hearing your thoughts down in the comments below or our social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.